This is a very exciting one for sporting news. We're joined by an Aussie icon, the leader of the Judgment Day, probably one of the biggest stars in the pro wrestling industry today, the WWE Women's World Champion, Rhea Ripley. Thank you so much for joining me. How are you and how are things over there at the mountaintop of WWE?
I'm good, man. The top is good. It really is. It's a nice view. Nah, it's really fun going out there and just running Monday Night Raw and running Friday Night SmackDown and even going to NXT and running NXT on Tuesdays. It's been a wild ride, but I'm having a lot of fun.
Speaking of Raw, you're obviously dealing with a few moving parts at the moment. Obviously, your stuff with the Judgment Day is front and center, but you're obviously the champ in the women's division as well. You've got some pretty tough competition. Do you find it difficult to juggle those sorts of things?
Um, no, I've always been good at multitasking. Um, Obviously, I have a target on my back, and I got Raquel Rodriguez trying to chase me down. I got Nia Jax trying to chase me down. I got Shayna Baszler now getting into the mix, which is keeping me quite occupied with the women's division. And then I have my Judgment Day crew. Um, I have Priest and Finn, who just lost the Undisputed Tag Team Championships, which I'm not happy about, and I know they're not either. And we're trying to get them back. I have Dirty Dom, my Latino Heat, who became two-time NXT North American champion, and I'm so proud of him. I think he's doing great. And then I got JD McBobblehead, that's screwing stuff up, but we'll leave him out of it for now. But I got my hands full. But at the end of the day, it makes the day go faster, and I like a good challenge. So I'm down for whatever is thrown my way.
Speaking of threats or potential threats in the women's division, obviously there's been some pretty big news lately with the signing of Jade Cargill. We don't know exactly where she's going to land just yet, but how familiar are you with her work and how exciting is it for the division as a whole to have a major star like that and someone that, like yourself can probably transcend the wrestling industry?
I'm very excited to see what she brings to WWE. I really am. Like you said, she's a big name, and a lot of people are watching and waiting for her debut. We don't know which brand she's going to be on yet. It could be Raw, it could be SmackDown, it could be NXT. No one really knows exactly what's going on. If it is Raw, I mean, that's my show. Mommy runs Raw. The Judgment Day, we run Raw. So if Jade wants to come to my brand, then I would love to step in the ring with her and show her exactly why Mommy's always on top. Because I have watched bits and pieces of her from her time in the other brand and in the other company, and she is fantastic, and she believes in herself, and she is a star. She believes she's a star, which is always the most dangerous thing. When someone believes in themselves, they are very hard to stop. But I'm also mommy. So I'm waiting for that day that I do get to step in the ring with her. I think it's going to be a very exciting match, and just to have someone that's so physically impressive across the ring from me, it excites me. I love a good challenge, and I'm waiting for that day.
You've brought up the Judgment Day, quite a lot already, and rightfully so. You guys do run the whole of WWE right now, even if Priest and Finn did lose their tag titles. For you, as what many would perceive the leader of a male-dominated faction, that's not something that we've seen very often, if ever, in pro wrestling and especially in WWE. Have you found that daunting in a way? Have you found that to be, a bit of added pressure on yourself? And was there any trepidation to be put in that position, or were you confident that you had what it takes to lead, three or four, depending if JD's in Judgment Day or not? Some pretty big alpha males.
I'm pretty confident within myself. I feel like we've been doing a lot of the right things lately, and I mean, the Judgment Day, we don't technically have a leader. None of us really lead. We just have specific jobs that we are better at. And for me, when it comes to my boys, I'm very good at making plans. And they all believe in my plans, and they know that they work, and that's why they listen to me. That's why most of the time you see me bossing them around and trying to stand my ground and tell them no sometimes, or tell them to go. Like, it really depends what the plan is, but it's because I've thought it all through. I'm not running off emotions because it's not me that's in that situation. Like, I stopped Priest from cashing in at the PLE because he wasn't 100%. He had been beaten up in his tag team match, and he was obviously running off anger, which is never good because that's when you slip up. So I told him no. I told him to give me the briefcase. So I feel like there's no specific leaders, but we all have our jobs. And for me, my job is making the plans for the boys to execute, and obviously I will be there to help out as well. Um, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It really is. It is a challenge, especially dealing with them three boys and maybe a fourth. We'll see. Um, but they all listen to me and they all believe in me, and it helps me believe in myself at the same time. So I'm just getting started. We're all just getting started, and we're all having the time of our lives.
Over that 18-month span of Judgment Day, obviously it was formed by someone that's no longer with the company that has a lot of experience, but Priest and Finn, they've got their fair share of experience as well. They've been around for a long time. Obviously, Finn worked for quite a while in Japan, and Damian Priest was, on the independent scene in the States for a while. They're guys that are, a fair bit older than yourself. What are the biggest lessons that you've learned from those two, from their experiences? And what do you think is the biggest lesson that you've taught them, even though they are, guys that have been in the business for, longer than yourself?
Oh man, I feel like we learn things each and every week that we go out there in front of the live audience. Um, the one thing that I really learned from being in a group, especially with the boys that I am in there with, is living in the moment and just taking everything in. They were so confident within themselves and their abilities, where I have always been a little bit less confident, especially when Judgment Day first started. I was really trying to be tough and be this monster that Edge wanted me to be. Um, but I was going out there every single week a bit terrified of what was going to happen. Um, where Priest, he makes me feel so comfortable out there. I've known him since the day he started in NXT, and we've been friends ever since then. We clicked straight away. And with Finn, he's got so much knowledge, and I know that he's going to be there if I need help. So I guess just learning to be comfortable out there with the boys is the main thing that I've learned. And I guess the thing that they might have learned from me, or it could just be a comfortability thing with all of us out there, is just to let go and just not care what people think. We go out there and we're just menaces. We do whatever the hell we want. We react however we want, and we sort of just do whatever it is that feels right in a way. We have fun while we're out there. And I think all of us together, we bring the fun. And that's the one thing that is making the Judgment Day click and just seems so easy to us.
Your relationship with Dom, he's obviously a second generation superstar. He's what many would describe as a prodigy in the wrestling business. Your relationship kind of does blur the lines a little bit on paper. I guess people maybe thought at first it wasn't going to mesh. It looked unusual on paper, but for you both, it's really taken you to the next level. Just how vital has that partnership been, both on screen and behind the scenes as well?
I say to Dom all the time that he's not allowed to leave me. He's not allowed to leave me because I need him. And I feel like he needs me too. Like you said, at the start, it seemed so weird putting our names next to each other. It just didn't seem right, especially because we didn't really know each other. So we didn't know what was going to happen or how things were going to work, if it was going to click or not, or if we'd even get along. We were on a very like, hi, how are you basis, and that was about it. But I think us being so similar in age has really helped in this situation as well. He's only 6 months younger than me, I think it is. So that has definitely helped because we are on that same sort of level, and I don't know, it just clicks. It's really strange. It's hard to explain in words because it was something that just came so out of left field and no one expected it. But each and every week I go out there with Dom, I feel like our relationship grows to that next little step, which is really cool to see because it started off with us just awkwardly walking out there together. And I told Ray that I made his son into a man, and now we're going out there and we're having legit fun. Like, I travel with these boys. We're a family. We're a close knit unit. We all love being around each other, and yeah, I feel like I need Dom and he needs me, and this was just such a happy accident that happened, and it's just grown into this amazing bond and storyline, and I think we're just scratching the surface. I feel like there's so many more levels that we can unfold in the future. I think that it could be something that we ride for a long time, but I'm having the time of my life.
I'll take you back to WrestleMania this year. I was there in LA. I would say it was probably one of the best nights of my life. I can only imagine how it was for you. What were your feelings and emotions before you went out for that match with Charlotte Flair, during the match and after it? And have you had any time to reflect? I know pro wrestling moves very quickly, and one day you're on top of the world and you've just got to move on with it. You're at Raw the next night. Have you had any time to reflect on what you did achieve in front of a bumper crowd in what many described as probably one of the best WrestleManias of all time?
Yeah, so wrestling, it does move very, very quickly, very quickly. Um, but I have had time to look back on that night and just take it in and realize how special it truly was. That whole day was such a roller coaster of emotions to me because it was everything that I wanted WrestleMania 36 to be that it didn't end up being. Like, we ended up having zero people in attendance WrestleMania 36 after fighting for so long and so hard to get to WrestleMania, it being my first ever one. I get to step in the ring with Charlotte Flair, someone who I had wanted to face for the longest time. I'm defending my championship, the NXT Women's Championship. My family were going to be there. And just to have that all like ripped away, it was very strange to me. Like, it was still a historic event because there was no people in attendance. But then to get it all back at WrestleMania 39 and have the crowd, have my family, have that match with Charlotte, but this time it's for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and I'm actually the challenger this time. It just felt so right. I don't know. The whole day was just emotional because I kept thinking about that, but then it was also emotional because I was so excited for Dom at the same time because he got to step in the ring with his dad after having this long storyline build up, and it was just such a special moment. But once the people started coming in to the building, it went from like happy tears to stressful tears, as it always does. I was very, very frantic before my match. I remember I hadn't drank water for like 4 hours and I was trying to find water, and then all of a sudden my music started playing and I legit just had to throw everything that I was holding and just run out because it was such a big stage. So I didn't really have time for my emotions to sort of sink in and let that moment build. It sort of was just like there. But while I was out there in the ring, I remember hearing the crowd at certain times. And then I remember looking over, I had Charlotte in my mare's trap. And I remember looking over to where the commentators are. And I saw my family in the crowd. And it sort of sparked this little fire within me, and it gave me that extra boost of adrenaline in a way where it just made everything so much better. And I think that's where things started clicking and it started getting more revved up, and the match started to get like going and going and going and building, and then people obviously exploded at the end with the finish, which was also very, very special. It was hard to take it all in. It really was. Like, it feels like when you're in the moment, it feels so fast, and it's such a weird feeling to describe, but you know that it's everything that you've worked so hard for just sort of becoming a reality. And then coming backstage and seeing my family and seeing my mom and my dad crying and seeing Priest and Dom and they're so ecstatic, and then my other friends as well, and they're all emotional and happy for me and proud of me. It was just such a roller coaster of emotions that entire day. But looking back on it, it's probably the highlight of my career and one of the best days of my life.
This title reign compared to your first title reign on the main roster is obviously, a little bit different. You've got the Judgment Day with you. You're probably a little bit more confident in your abilities. You've been there for longer. Now you're, probably not the biggest female star in WWE. You're probably close to the biggest full-time star in WWE, period. You're almost at the top of a top 30 list for ESPN. You're doing all of these things that, women haven't really done before. Do you find it hard not to pat yourself on the back and get complacent, or do you feel like you're only scratching the surface, like you mentioned with yourself and Dom before?
I feel like I'm just scratching the surface. I'm the type of person that never thinks that I'm good enough. I always feel like there's something to do and there's more to accomplish. I've never set goals. I've always just wanted to see how far I can go within whatever it is that I'm doing. Um, that being said, in the WWE, like I have done some really cool things. I have made a lot of history and I've had a lot of fun doing it, but I'm not done yet. I haven't hit that wall. Like I want to take over this company. I want to keep going. I just want to see how far I can get being Rhea Ripley, and I want to see how far the Judgment Day can get as well. Um, I never think that I've done much, which is wild to say because I've been a part of WWE for six and a half years and I've accomplished so much, but I'm not satisfied yet. I feel like there's just so much more to do. So yeah, I'm just going to keep striving through greatness pretty much.
There's obviously been a pretty major announcement in the last few weeks. Yourself as an Australian, you're going to have the opportunity to come back and wrestle in front of, people that are going to be cheering you on. Optus Stadium, February 24th next year for Elimination Chamber. What was your initial reaction to that announcement, and how excited are you and the likes of Grayson and Bronson and Indy to get back out here and get amongst it? Because the crowd, as we know, Aussies are going to turn up. It's going to be electric atmosphere.
I'm ecstatic, man. I know how long WWE have been trying to go to Australia, because every time something sort of gets in the works, I hear about it. And each and every time it's sort of fallen through, and it's made me really upset because all I want to do is go home and wrestle in Australia. So to see it actually be announced for everyone to see, where it can't get cancelled, it made my day. It really did. It's such exciting news, and I know that all the other Aussies are so pumped, and I hope that they all get to come back and be on the show as well, because this is something that we work towards. Like we all work towards getting to WWE, but then we all want to be able to be a part of WWE and perform where we first started. That's the specialness that comes with it. Like that's what everyone really truly wants. So I know that the others are ecstatic. I'm ecstatic. I know the crowd is going to be ecstatic because it's been a long time since WWE's been to Australia. So I think it's going to be an absolutely ballistic, wild night, and I can't wait to hear the crowd and just feel that electricity while I'm out there. And it being Elimination Chamber 2, like this is a PLE. I believe it's the first time a PLE has been in Australia, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah, so
that
like,
did showdown in 2018 at the MCG, but this is the first, standout PLE that they've had.
yeah, this is the first like big one, I want to say. So like it being Elimination Chamber, it's gonna be a wild night anyway. Elimination Chamber is always crazy. It's always a crazy show. So for it to be in Australia, it's just gonna be a really special night for all of us.
And just the last one, as we do wind down, getting the opportunity now to come back out to Australia and wrestle in front of, your home country. when you're over in the States, do you realize yet how much of a role model you are to young boys and girls out here in Australia and in the States and across the world? But especially when you think about the Australian wrestling scene and how far away we are from everything else, do you know, have you kind of, grasped how important, how crucial that, role model status is?
It's wild because I always forget. Because for me, I just feel like me. I don't feel like a big deal. I don't feel important. I feel like me. I feel like the little girl that grew up in Adelaide, South Australia, and just trying her hardest to do everything that she wants to do. But going home and going to Riot City Wrestling for a random training every now and then, and seeing how excited people get, and hearing their stories on how they started watching WWE and how they wanted to be a professional wrestler, and hearing how I've helped inspire them, like that's things that really make you think about your job. And I've had a few people like reach out to me online and obviously in person too when I am in Australia, and it makes me feel proud. It really does. It makes me feel very happy that I get to help inspire people like others inspired me. It's wild to think because, like I said, I don't believe that I'm a big deal, but that's just me being me. Like hearing the stories, and even if it's inspiring them to be in the wrestling business, make it to WWE, or inspiring them to do anything else that they've wanted to do, whether it's cut their hair, whether it's them joining the police force, anything that they wanted to do that they didn't know that they could do, just anything. It makes me proud, and I love hearing them stories. It makes my job really worth it. Like, I love going out there and doing the one thing that I love, and that's wrestling. But when it comes to hearing other people's stories, that's what makes the job really worthwhile.
Well, Rhea, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Long may this reign with the title continue, and looking forward to seeing what's next for yourself on the Judgment Day.
Thank you.